beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are having an amazing, marvelous, and magnificent day. My name is TV, and if you're a true crime lover like me, please don't forget to like the video, comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Before we get into today's video, I just want to shout out my first comment winner, One Erin Cat. Shout out to you for being the first comment winner. And if any of you guys would like to be shouted out in any future videos, please try to be the first one to comment. I do upload on Thursdays and Sundays around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So let's get into today's video. Today we will be discussing Adam Walsh. This case was requested. I forgot who requested it, but shout out to them for requesting this case. Without further ado, let's get into today's video. Sit back, relax, grab a snack, some water, some wine, whatever warms your little heart, and enjoy some crime time. Warning, this video may contain details of graphic content. This channel is for mature audiences only. Some viewers might find this disturbing. The case of 6-year-old Adam Walsh in 1981 is one of the most infamous child abduction and murder cases in U.S. history, leading to significant changes in child protection laws and advocacy for missing children. Adam Walsh was born on November 14, 1974 in Hollywood, Florida. He was born to parents Revè and John Walsh. At that time, he was their only child, but in hindsight, he is the oldest of 3 other siblings: Callahan Walsh, Megan Walsh, and Hayden Walsh. During that time, Revè was a stay-at-home mom and John worked as a sales and marketing manager. It was a typical summer day, July 27th, 1981. While at work, John called home to his wife, letting her know that he'd seen an ad in the morning newspaper stating that the brass barrel lamps they had been eyeing was finally on sale at the local Sears store. That day, 6-year-old Adam Walsh accompanied his mother, Revè, to the Hollywood Mall, which is now the Hollywood Hills Plaza in Hollywood, Florida. They both entered the Sears through the north entrance. While on their journey to the home furnishing aisle, they walked past the gaming aisle. Little Adam couldn't help but to not resist playing a few video games. He begged his mother to let him stay for a bit. She hesitated but felt like she was only a few aisles down, so she agreed. She allowed her son to play at a kiosk with Atari 2600 video games, where several boys were taking turns playing. Around 12:15 p.m., when Revè returned to the spot where she had left her son, he was nowhere to be found. Her heart sank and a surge of dread entered her body. She called his name. The more he did not respond, her voice grew louder and louder. Up again as worry quickly spiraled into terror as her search grew cold. Desperation consumed her, and the situation became unmistakably dire. With the mounting panic, she turned to store employees for help, but not one trace of Adam emerged. She had no choice but to call the Hollywood police. The nightmare had begun. A store manager informed her that an argument had ensued at the kiosk regarding whose turn was next. This prompted a young security guard to ask the boys to leave the store. The security guard reportedly asked if the boys' parents were present, and when they said no, they were escorted out through the Sears West entrance. Adam's parents later revealed that their theory was that he was too shy to explain he was waiting for his mother, and was assumed to be with the older boys. After the group dispersed, Adam may have been left alone outside at an unfamiliar exit. Revè coincidentally ran into her mother-in-law, Jean, who joined the search. After 90 minutes without success, Revè contacted the Hollywood police at 1:55 to report Adam missing. Adam's parents were consumed by anguish and an overwhelming sense of helplessness. Back in 1981, the FBI's National Crime Database could track stolen cars and even stolen horses, but there was no system to log or share information about missing children. This glaring gap in resources left Adam's parents with no institutional support. Their son could have been anywhere, and the burden of searching for him fell entirely on their shoulders, amplifying their despair. Quote, "He's our only child, a beautiful little boy, and all we want is to have him back," end quote. John said during an emotional press conference with Revè by his side. "Above all else, we hold on to hope. We'll never give up hope, and we'll never stop looking for him," end quote. Hope turned into horror, and on August 10th, a severed head was discovered in a drainage canal along the Florida Turnpike near Vero Beach, approximately 130 miles from Hollywood. The discovery was made by Detective Ralph E. Latimer Jr. and an unidentified deputy from the Indian River County. On the morning of August 11th, John and Revè appeared on national television, expressing hope that Adam was still alive. A reward of $100,000, equivalent to $300,000 today, was offered of Adam's safe return. Shortly afterward, the remains were identified as Adam's. The coroner determined that Adam's cause of death was asphyxiation. The condition of the remains suggested he had died several days before the disappearance. Before the discovery, the condition of the remains suggested he had died several days before the discovery. The rest of his body was never recovered. Adam's head remained in the morgue until the case was officially closed in 2008. 2 years after the murder of Adam, a convicted serial killer named Otis Toole confessed to several murders, one which included Adam, but he would later recant. Before we dive into his confession, here's a short bio of who Otis Toole was. He was an American drifter and convicted serial killer who became notorious for his crimes alongside his partner Henry Lee Lucas. The number of victims is unknown, but it is believed he was involved in over 100 homicides. Otis stated that he lured Adam to his car, which was a 1971 Cadillac sedan DeVille, with a promise of candy and toys. He began driving north on Interstate 95 toward his home in Jacksonville, Florida. According to Otis, Adam was initially submissive and cooperative. The longer he drove, Adam began to panic. Otis struck him in the face, but this only escalated the situation. He ultimately knocked him unconscious. While Adam was unconscious, Otis drove north on the Florida Turnpike, eventually turning onto a deserted service road near the Radible Road overpass in the northwest St. Lucie County. When Otis discovered that Adam was still breathing, he strangled him to death with a seatbelt, dragged him out the car, and decapitated him with a machete. He also claimed to have had Adam's remains in an old refrigerator when he returned to Jacksonville. He stated that he had wanted to adopt Adam as his son, but this was considered impossible. The source of the blood found in Otis's car could not be identified. The police ended up losing the blood-stained carpet from the car, as well as the machete that was allegedly used to decapitate the little boy. It gets worse. Police also ended up losing Otis's entire vehicle. He was never charged with the murder of Adam, even though he was able to provide an accurate description of how he killed Adam. The 2019 Netflix series called The Confession Killer includes footage showing him seemingly being fed information by Witnesses also placed him in the Hollywood area just days before Adam's disappearance. In September 1996, he died in prison at the age of 49 from cirrhosis, while serving a life sentence for other crimes. His niece later told John Walsh that he had made a deathbed confession to Adam's murder. However, his confession was deemed unreliable as he and Henry falsely accused or implicated themselves in over 200 homicides. In 1997, Hollywood Police Chief Rick Stone conducted an in-depth review of Adam's case following the release of John Walsh's book. At that time, Rick served 22 years as a law enforcement veteran, having served in the Dallas, Texas, and Wichita, Kansas police departments. He had been appointed Hollywood's chief of police the previous year. Although the crime occurred 16 years earlier, Rick analyzed available evidence, including taped interrogations of Otis by Hollywood detective Mark Smith. Based on his review, Rick concluded there was evidence beyond reasonable doubt that Otis was responsible for Adam's murder. He also noted that both Otis and Henry were infamous for confessing to crimes not committed, only to later recant their confessions. In 2007, allegations surfaced suggesting that Jeffrey Dahmer, who had been arrested in Wisconsin in 1991 for the murders of over a dozen men and boys, was a potential suspect in Adam's murder. The claims attached spread attention. Jeffrey's father reportedly and ironically called the America's Most Wanted hotline shortly after his son's arrest, expressing concerns of his son being a creepy person. During the same time of Adam's abduction, Jeffrey was living in Miami Beach, and two eyewitnesses placed him at the mall on the day Adam disappeared. One witness reported seeing a young blonde man with a prominent chin force a struggling child into a blue van before speeding away. Both later identified Jeffrey from photographs published after his arrest. It was also reported that the delivery shop where Jeffrey worked had access to a blue van at the time. Jeffrey's known crimes involved young men and boys, with the youngest being 8 years older than Adam. And his technique was removing the heads of his victims. In a 1992 interview, Jeffrey consistently denied involvement in Adam's case, stating, quote, "I've told you everything, how I killed them, how I cooked them, who I ate. Why wouldn't I tell you if I did it to someone else?" End quote. However, reports suggested Jeffrey feared he would be targeted as a creepy person and killed in prison if he confessed to Adam's murder. After these allegations surfaced, John Walsh stated that he had seen no evidence linking Adam's abduction and murder to Jeffrey's crimes. On December 16, 2008, the police department announced the case was officially closed, stating they had sufficient evidence to hold Otis responsible for Adam's death. John spoke at a conference in 2008, sharing his thoughts. He said something that spoke volume. Quote, "Justice delayed doesn't mean that justice denied." End quote. I can only imagine how hard it is to have to wait 27 years to finally find justice for your son. You really have to have another level of faith to know that your son's killer is going to be found. He also mentioned that his daughter, Megan Walsh, was born 1 year after Adam was killed, and she saved them during a time where they were spiraling into hell. He continued by thanking everyone that was involved with the case. The Walsh's outrage and public support led to a growing movement to help missing and exploited children. He realized there were many other families who needed help. On July 27, 2006, 25 years after Adam's disappearance, President George W. Bush signed the Adam Walsh Child Protection Safety Act into law, which created a national database of convicted child ex-offenders, strengthened federal penalties for crimes against children, and provided funding to fight crimes involving the actual exploitation of children via the internet. The Walsh family created the Adam Walsh Resource Center, a nonprofit organization committed to legislative reform. Initially, the The centers operated in West Palm Beach, Florida, Columbia, South Carolina, Orange County, California, and Rochester, New York. These centers later merged with the National Children for Missing and Exploited Children, where John Walsh continues to serve as a co-founder. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children is a private, non-profit corporation whose mission is to help find missing children, reduce child sexual exploitation, and prevent child victimization. NCMEC works with families, victims, private industry, law enforcement, and the public to assist with missing children and providing services to deter, combat child sexual exploitation. Within the last 40 years, more than 426,000 children have been found safe. The Walsh family launched a political campaign to support missing and exploited children. Despite facing some challenges, John and Revè's determination ultimately resulted in the creation of the Missing Children Act of 1982, which was a law passed by Congress to help locate missing children and adults, and also the creation of Missing Children's Assistance Act of 1984, which was a federal law that provided coordination between state and local efforts to find and support missing and exploited children. After securing a deal with Fox, John Walsh launched America's Most Wanted in 1988. By that time, John was already a prominent advocate for missing and exploited children. Following the tragic murder of his son, America's Most Wanted became Fox's longest-running crime reality show, aiding in the capture of over 1,000 fugitives. Though Fox canceled the series in June 2011, they aired 4 specials during the 2011-2012 season. On December 2nd, 2011, the show resumed as a weekly series on Lifetime, but was canceled after its final episode on October 12th, 2012. Adam hosted The John Walsh Show, a daytime talk show produced by NBC, which aired from 2002 to 2004. Balancing the show with America's Most Wanted proved challenging, leading John to request release from his contract. NBC Entertainment President Jeff Zuckerberg granted the request and canceled the talk show. In 2003, John played a key role in solving the kidnapping of Elizabeth Smart through America's Most Wanted. During an episode, Ed Smart shared a photo of Brian David Mitchell, known as Emmanuel, which Brian's stepchildren recognized. This led to the capture of Brian and Wanda Barzee and Elizabeth Smart's safe return. John later met Elizabeth after her family invited him to acknowledge his role in her rescue. In July of 2005, John advocated for the family of missing teen Natalie Holloway and criticized the Aruban investigation. Alongside Dr. Phil McRae, he called for an American boycott of Aruba. He also appeared as a special guest on Extreme Go for Home Edition in an episode featuring the mother of Morgan Nick, a missing 6-year-old whose case had been highlighted on America's Most Wanted. John's life story has been documented on the Hiiiii True Hollywood Story and Biography. In addition to America's Most Wanted, John hosted its successors, The Hunt with John Walsh on CNN and In the Pursuit with John Walsh on Investigation Discovery. On December 13th, 2023, it was announced that John would return as host of the 2nd season of America's Most Wanted, Betterment, alongside his son Callahan Walsh. The show premiered on January 22nd, 2014, featuring Elizabeth Smart as a guest. John also serves as a spokesperson for the Justice Network, a digital multicast network dedicated to crime and safety programming. Code Adam is an alert named in honor of Adam Walsh. It is a missing child safety program. It is a missing child safety program in the United States and Canada, originally created by Walmart retail stores in 1994. Companies that do implement the program generally place a Code Adam decal at the front of the business. Employees at these businesses are trained to take the following steps according to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Step 1. If a visitor reports a child is missing, a detailed description of the child is obtained, which should include their name, age, hair color, eye color, approximate height and weight, clothing, and a photo if the visitor has one. Care is paid to the shoes as they are harder to change than clothing. Step 2. The employee goes to the nearest in-house telephone and pages code Adam, describing the child's physical features and clothing. The visitor will be directed to the entrance to help identify the child. Following the business's code Adam plan, some employees will monitor entrances and note down potential useful information. Others search the business and sections. All employees will ask children for their names and if the adult accompanying them is their parent. If an adult is seen attempting to leave with the child, employees must not physically intervene to prevent putting the child or others at risk of immediate harm. Step 3. Other than cashiers, all employees search likely hiding places for the missing child. Step 4. The police are immediately called. Step 5. If the child is located and appears to be lost or unharmed, their identity is verified. Step 6. If the child is located with an adult that is not their parent or guardian, reasonable efforts will be employed to delay the departure of the adult without endangering staff or customers. Finally, Step 7. After the child is either positively identified and reunited with their guardian, or all collected information has been turned over to the police, an employee will page store-wide again to cancel the code Adam. My final thought, I truly do believe that everything happens for a reason. Sometimes in unfortunate situations, things that happen that doesn't make sense. I truly get that. But I do believe if it wasn't for Adam going missing, America would not have the safety measures in place to protect children and to find missing children. So I do believe that John Walsh was put on this earth to change how we report missing children. So, and I do believe all this tool did have something to do with Adam's murder. It's unfortunate that the rest of Adam's remains have never been found. Hopefully one day they will be found. But yeah, let me know what you think about this case, and thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all in my next video.